not built all at once. Just matter collecting round the center. Slowly adding mass to what was already there. I've grown by accretion, picking up mass from everything that passed through my gravity. Not designed, not curated, just the honest accumulation of proximity over time. Some of it was chosen, most of it just arrived, and what arrived stayed, because the gravity at my center was strong enough to hold it. Accretion does require effort, just to center with enough gravity to keep what comes within range from escaping back into the void. Gravitational center collecting mass. Congas knock like matter arriving and being incorporated. Shaker moves like accumulated mass, changing the orbit of what's nearby. I grew heavier by becoming the center that things collected around. I watch smaller centers fail to hold what passed within their gravity. Just from insufficient mass to keep the passing material close. The accretion feeds itself. More mass means more gravity. More gravity means more accretion, until the center becomes something that could never have been planned. This isn't about accumulating everything, anything indiscriminately. Accretion builds what it builds from whatever passes within range of whatever gravity you actually have. The path it took to get here is not the same as the path back. The material remembers where it's been, and that memory changes everything.
The same way I arrived, the path back through a change runs at a different level than the path that brought me here in the first place. Not worse, not better, just offset. The material has memory now, and memory changes the relationship between input and output permanently. Hysteresis is the gap between the going and the returning path. The material's history baked into every future response it makes.
Bass holds the memory of where it's been. Congas knock like path, returning at a different level. Shaker moves like gap between going and coming back. I don't return to places the same way I left them.
To go back to how things were before a certain change, before a certain loss. But the path back runs through different territory than the path that brought me to the change in the first place. Not because I can't return, but because I'm running on different rails now. The experience is in the material, and the material responds differently from here on.
This isn't about irreversibility as tragedy. Hysteresis is just the honest record of everything the material went through, written permanently into how it responds going forward.
Hysteresis, hysteresis.
The path back runs different memory
In the material. Hysteresis, hysteresis. Oh, another return path now, offset from where I started.
Sub-bass deep like material that carries its full history.
Congas drive like response shaped by everything that came before.
Still moving, and the different return path was never a failure to go back. Not the same path back. The material remembers, and that memory is now part of what it is. The time and space available for
wind to build the wave. Both matter equally. Neither fetch nor duration alone is enough. I've had fetch windows open and close, periods where the conditions were right for building something significant that required both enough space and enough time. When the window was long enough and wide enough, something substantial arrived on shore. When either one was cut short, what arrived was smaller than the conditions it promised. The fetch window doesn't repeat identically. Each opening is its own configuration of duration, of fetch, of wind direction. And what gets built inside it is unique to that particular window. Some bass, some bass, sub bass, some bass, some bass, sub bass, some bass, some bass, sub bass, some bass, sub bass, some bass, sub bass. Sub bass opens like a fetch window arriving from the right direction. Congas knock like duration and space aligning for significant build. Shaker moves like wave, growing inside the available window. I recognize the window and use the full duration without interruption. I've misfetched windows by starting too late, or by stopping before the window closed, leaving size on the table that the conditions had fully offered and I hadn't collected. I've also learned to recognize when the window is genuinely open and wide, and to build without interruption through the full available fetch and duration. This isn't about waiting for perfect conditions. The fetch window is never perfect. It's just the best available configuration of the conditions that are actually there. Fetch window, fetch window. Space and time align, built through the full duration. Fetch window, fetch window. Space and time align, built through the full duration. Fetch window, fetch window, fetch window, fetch window, fetch window. Built to full size, now inside the available window. Sub bass deep like wave that use the complete fetch duration. Congas drive like arrival at shore, size to the full window, still building. And the window is there long enough for something significant to arrive. The window was open, the fetch was long enough. What arrived was exactly what? The full duration made possible. Magma that never broke the surface, pushed up from below, domed the overlying rock and cool there in the dark. I've had Laccoliths form in me, pressure that built beneath the surface, that I never vented dramatically, but that changed the shape of everything above it. The surface didn't show an eruption, just a gradual dorming, a slow change in the landscape above that most people attributed to other causes. The Laccolith is only visible long after the magma cooled, when erosion reveals the hardened intrusion that changed everything from below. Sub-base stones like magma pushing up without breaking surface. Congas knocked like overlying rock, lifted by pressure beneath. Shaker moves like landscape change from below without eruption. I changed the surface above me without anyone seeing what was pushing. I've shaped things from below without credit. The doming happened, the landscape changed, but the cause was invisible, buried in the intrusion. Nobody could see until the erosion came. Not strategic concealment, just the nature of intrusive change. The magma didn't need to erupt to permanently alter everything above it. This isn't about hidden influence as a tactic. The Laccolith formed because the pressure was real, and real pressure finds a way to change the shape of what sits above it. Laccolith changed the surface from below, never needed to erupt. Laccolith changed the surface from below, never needed to erupt. Cooled now and hardened, the dome confirmed above. Sub-base deep like intrusion that permanently altered the landscape. Congas drive like surface changed by what was never seen, breaking through, still shaping. And the eruption was never required for the change to be complete. It never broke through, but everything above it was permanently different because of what pushed from below. The layer that sits on top of what you're looking for. Heavy necessary to move, not what you came for, but what you have to go through to get there. I've moved a lot of overburden in my time. Layers of obligation that sat above the actual work. Heavy and uniform and not the thing I wanted. Not resentfully, just as the practical reality of excavation. You don't get to the scene without first moving everything sitting on top of it. The overburden isn't the enemy of the valuable layer. It's just what accumulated above it. Through no design, just time and gravity. And it has to be moved before anything below can be reached.
Bass presses like overburden weight, sitting above what matters. Congas knock like layers beam, systematically removed. Shaker moves like what was buried, finally becoming accessible. I moved what had to be moved to reach what was worth finding. I've learned to estimate the overburden before committing to the excavation. Some scenes aren't worth the volume above them, and some are worth moving mountains for. The calculation matters. Not every deposit rewards the removal cost, but when the seam is rich enough, you move the overburden without complaint and without hurry.
This isn't about burden being the wrong word. The overburden is genuinely heavy. It just isn't the reason you're there, which makes it movable in a way other weight isn't.
Overburden, overburden, move what sits above. The seam is worth finding. Overburden, 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 what sits above. The seam is worth finding. Overburden, 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 burden, 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 burden. Through to the seam now, overburden behind. Sub-bass deep like valuable layer, finally exposed. Congas drive like excavation, arriving at what it came for. Still digging, and the overburden was just the price of reaching what was underneath. The seam was always there, under everything that had to move first. When a rock is struck hard enough, it doesn't just crack. Fragments fly from the opposite face, the impact traveling all the way through. I've been spalled before, struck on one side and lost something from the other.
without the impact ever touching where the loss happened. The physics travels through the material. What hits one face can detach something from the face that was never directly hit. Spalling reveals the internal structure of whatever was struck. Where the wave found weakness is where the material let go. Sub-bass moves like shockwave, traveling through solid material. Congas knock like impact on the opposite face to where it hit. Shaker moves like fragments, separating from where the wave arrived. I lost things from faces that weren't the ones that took the hit. I used to be confused by losses that came from nowhere obvious, until I learned the physics of spalling and understood that indirect impact was still impact. The strike that started it was somewhere else entirely, but the wave it sent through me found the weakness in a place I wasn't watching. This isn't about being fragile. Spalling happens to hard materials too. The wave travels through everything and finds whatever wasn't bonded well enough to survive the transit. Spall, spall, impact traveling through. Loss from the far face. Material stronger for understanding its own spalling still whole. And the losses I didn't see coming were still caused by things I can now trace. The impact was elsewhere, but the wave found here. Something left from the face that never saw the strike.